Oh, hi there. It's a lovely day to sit by the water, isn't it? Or as you might say in German, Wasser. Or as you might say in Bulgarian, Voda. You might want to say, as for Greek, Hüdel. Or as you might say in Sanskrit, Udan. Hi, my name is Yannick Peters and today we are talking about Proto-Indo-European. The reason why all these words sound so similar is because that all these languages come from the same language which was spoken in Central Europe around 6,000 years ago. We don't have any written recordings of this language and we certainly don't have any sound recordings. And this is what has motivated scientists since the 19th century to reconstruct what this language might have sounded like. Today we are talking with Victoria Ivanova, a leading expert in the field who is going to tell us all about how scientists are trying to bring this language back to life.
Across Indo-European languages like German, Russian, Hindi, we find many words that we can trace back to the same Proto-Indo-European origin. By comparing these words, we can reconstruct what the original Proto-Indo-European word looked like. Then piece by piece, we can puzzle exactly how different sounds changed in the different language families. For example, Proto-Indo-European A changed into A in Sanskrit and E in Gothic, and Proto-Indo-European K changed into S in the Slavic languages. We have established many sound laws that describe these changes that help us reconstruct what Proto-Indo-European sounded like 6,000 years ago.
This method has brought a lot of success, but it seems like there is a limit to the answers it can give. Many details remain uncertain.
Perhaps one of the biggest mysteries in the field is these three mysterious sounds that have left very difficult to decode traces in the Dollar languages. We mark them as H1, H2 and H3 because what they actually sounded like is still an object of debate.
It seems like H2 has turned into A in Greek and E in Sanskrit in this word, the word for father. And in the word for red, H1 has become E in Greek and disappeared everywhere else.
This contradicting data is really pushing the boundaries of what we have established as the Proto-European sound system. Many theories have been brought forward. Some say there were some sort of vowels, some say there were some sort of back of the throat sounds. Some languages, like for example the oldest attested Indo-European language, Hittite, show that they turned into some sort of h sound.
However, one big, often disregarded advantage that Victoria is using is the fact that the Proto-Indo-Europeans and the modern people have something important in common: our mouths.
What I do is analyze the movements of the mouth needed to produce the sounds in question. I model words, Proto-European words, that contain one of these three H's, and I do that according to the different hypotheses about what they sounded like. Then I look into, is it possible, logical, easy for these movements to develop into the movements needed to produce the outcomes that we know of from the Dollar languages. For example, here we have the Proto-Indo-European reconstructed word P-H2 ter. This is the word for father, and the word father itself comes from it, as well as the Greek pater and the Sanskrit pita. Now, according to one of the hypotheses, this H2 was produced by the tongue pressing against the pharynx. This creates a sound that sounds a little bit like this.
Pater.
And this is how the mouth looks as it is being pronounced.
This sound turned into A in Greek. This is not really impossible. As you can see, the mouth shapes needed to produce the two different sounds are very similar. However, it also turned into E in Sanskrit. Now, this will be a little bit more difficult to happen because, as you can see, the tongue needs to be in a very different position for the mouth to produce an E. Okay, this is why we need to come up with a different explanation for this transformation or assume that it is not possible. This is a way of thinking that is very rarely employed in the very traditional comparative linguistics field. I like challenging that, and I'm pretty sure that more modern approaches like mine will yield some exciting new results that we could not get otherwise.
Of course, reconstructing Proto-Indo-European is not just to satisfy the curiosity of linguists. Being able to, or of course not being able to, reconstruct certain words allows us to look inside of the world of the Proto-Indo-Europeans. For example, the fact that we cannot find a common word for iron only supports the assumption that the Proto-Indo-Europeans lived before the Iron Age. On the other hand, since we can find words for horses and brewer's yeast, we can assume that the Proto-Indo-Europeans in fact had horses and, you guessed it, beer. Now, let's hope that ambitious people like Victoria will keep trying to unveil the mystery that surrounds the language and the people who are ancestors to over 3 billion people around the world. Cheers!